Hi everyone. Hi Belle. She came to join us for math. This video is going to be reviewing your topic 16, reteaching. So if you don't have your math book, please go get it and turn to page 885 and then we'll start. Okay, so please turn to page 885 and we're going to start with set A. Set A says you can find the perimeter by counting unit segments. And remember, when we're doing perimeter, we're talking about the outside edge, not how much stuff is inside. So when we did area, we counted the amount of squares inside. For perimeter, we want to count the squares on the outside and going all the way around. So, and then when we have one that's not on grid paper, all we need to do is add up all the sides, and that's the perimeter. So for number one, it was 26 sides of squares, so it would be 26 inches. And the reason why we know it's inches is because there is, in the bottom of the picture, we see 1 square equals 1 inch. And so we know that our label needs to be inches. So if you just wrote 26, make sure you add that inches. And the answer is 26 inches. For number 2, we have 6 on the left and 6 on the right. And then we have 12 on the bottom and 12 on the top. So what we're going to do is we're going to add all of those. And 12 plus 12 plus 6 plus 6 gives you 36 centimeters. Again, make sure you have that label on there, and we know that because of the way they labeled their sides. So number 2, the perimeter, which means, right, all the sides added up together, equals 36 centimeters. Okay, number 3. We have a lot of numbers this time, although they're little numbers, so hopefully it wasn't too hard to add it up. If you need to add it up in chunks, that's fine too. But you're adding up 3 plus 5 plus 5 plus 4 plus 1 plus 1 plus 4 plus 5. So when you add up all of those numbers together, you get 28 meters. Hi, Belle. And again, we knew that it was meters based on what they labeled the sides. Now, for the centimeters and meters, if you just wrote cm or m, that's totally fine, okay? Or if you wrote out the whole word and knew what it meant, that's good too. Okay. Set B, they're talking about finding the missing length. So, in other words, we know the total, and we have to find what's missing. So, when we know the total and have to find one of the numbers that we're missing, we know we have to use subtraction instead of addition. So, for number 1, we know that the perimeter is 35 centimeters. We already know that. So what we're going to do is we're going to subtract all the other sides to find out which one is missing. Now, there are 2 ways that you can do that. Either you can add up all the sides that we have and then subtract it out of 35, or you can subtract separately 4 times. It's up to you. So in other words, if you add up 11 plus 11, you get 22. Plus 4 would be 26, plus 4 more would be 30. So then if you do 35 minus 30, you get that the missing side is 5 centimeters. But if you'd rather, you can do 35 minus 4 is 31. 31 minus 11 is 20. 20 minus 4 is 16. 16 minus 11 is 5. You get the same answer. Either way, it doesn't really matter how you solve it. So number 1, the missing side length is 5 centimeters. Now, if you're unsure if you did it correctly, what I recommend is that you go through and add them back up. So for instance, if you did 4 plus 4 plus 11 plus 11 plus 5 and got 35 centimeters, you would know that that's correct because they told us what the perimeter was. So that's just an extra way to check it if you're unsure. Okay, let's look at page 886. Whoops, I went too far. Okay, let me pull it up on my screen. Okay. So, set C. So set C is going to be a little bit hard for me to obviously check yours since it's drawings, and normally I would check those in class. So if you have a question on whether or not yours is right, feel free to send me a picture if you want me to check it, or you could always have someone in your house check it. I'm going to try to give an example, but it doesn't mean that it's the only right answer. So if you got something different than what I got, it's okay because yours might still be correct too. So for number 1, it says draw 2 different rectangles with the perimeter listed. Find the area of each rectangle. So what we need to do is we need to find 4 numbers, right? And we know what we know about a rectangle is the left and the right have to be equal and the top and the bottom have to be equal. So usually what I would recommend is that you just pick, Belle, no. She was being naughty. Normally what you would do is you would pick just a random number and kind of do trial and error. Now, because it says 24 feet, the 24 is even, so I recommend maybe picking even numbers, but again, you don't have to. So what I would do for this one is, one of the easiest ways to find perimeter is to divide it, for a quadrilateral, is to divide it by 4. Now, if we divide it by 4, and there are 4 sides in a quadrilateral, they're all going to be equal. What that's going to give us is a square, but a square is also a rectangle. So for instance, if I have to find 2 different rectangles, the first thing I would do personally is find a square. So if the number can't be divided by 4, there's no square. So if I say the perimeter is 24 feet, and it has 4 equal sides, what's 24 divided by 4? Well, we know that 24 divided by 4 is 6. So each one of the sides would be 6, and I would have a square in my drawing. Well, now they want me to find the area, and we know that area equals length times width. So we know if the length is 6 and the width is 6, we would do 6 times 6, and that equals 36. Now remember, our label on our area is always squared and then whatever the unit is. So the area of my square would be 36 square feet, okay? Now, they want another rectangle, so it can't be the same, and we know there's only one square, so this time I can't divide by 4. So what I might say is, all right, let me pick a number. So I'm going to pick 10. So if the top is 10 and the bottom is 10, I now have 10 plus 10 is 20. Well, if the perimeter is 24, I'm going to do 24 minus 20, and I get 4 that's left. Well, how can I divide 4 into 2 sides equally? 4 divided by 2 equals 2. So my new rectangle is 10 on the top, 10 on the bottom, 2 on the side, 2 on the other side. Lucas, yeah. Can you please come get Leia? Yeah. Sorry, I have a lot going on this morning. So if 10's on the top and 10's on the bottom and 2's on the side and 2's on the other side, then we would have, it would all add up to 24. But if I'm doing area, I know that area equals length times width. So if we have our length and our width, and I have 10 and 2, 10 times 2 is 20. So because it's because we know that it's feet and we know that area is squared, we would say that the area is 20 square feet. So those are just 2 examples of what I chose. They are not the only 2 though. So again, if you have a question, just send me a picture or ask someone in your house and they'll be able to check to see if your answer is correct. All right, number 2. Now this is a little bit different because they've given us the area. So in other words, what we need to figure out is what times what equals 64. So again, a type of rectangle is a square. And so I always like to see if we have a square that would fit that. So if we have area equals 64, we know that that means the length times the width. So I know that 8 times 8 is 64. What that means is it's a square with 8, 8, 8, 8. So since I know that For perimeter, I have to add up all the sides. If all 4 sides are 8, I can either do 8 plus 8 plus 8 plus 8, or I can do 8 times 4. And if I do 8 times 4, which is, for me, an easier computation, I would do 8 times 4 is 32. So I know my perimeter is 32 inches. Now, make sure you take that square off, because for perimeter, it's just your measurement, no square. So for my drawing, which would be a square with 8, 8, 8, 8, my perimeter would be 32 inches. Now I need to do a different one. So now I need to think of another fact besides 8 times 8 that equals 64. So if I start to think, okay, what about if I do 10 times 6, right? Well, 10 times 6 is 60, so not quite. If I do 10 times 7, that equals 70, so that one's not quite right either. So then I might say, all right, let me try 7. Well, 7 times 9 is 63, so we're still not there yet. So now I might say, all right, what about 8 times, 8 times 9. 8 times 9 gives us 72. 8 times 8 gives us 64, which we already found was our square. So that's not going to work. Then if we say, all right, what about if we do 12? 12 times 5 is 60, and that's not going to equal it. So we're having, we're looking at it and we're trying to figure out what is going to equal 64. So if we do 11 times 6, we have 66. If we have, let's think of some other ones. If we have 9 times, we already did 9 times 7 is 63. Stop. If we do, why are you so silly? If we do 4, we get, this one's a little tricky for you guys, but if we do 4, we figure out, and so if you had to figure it out using repeated subtraction, I totally understand. If we do 4, okay, we would end up getting stop, Belle. If we do 4, we would end up getting 16. Yes, we would end up getting 16. And so that one was a little bit hard. But so if we then know that 16 is on the top, let's say, and 4 is on the side, okay, we know that 4 times 16 gives us 64. But now we need to find out what they are all added up together. So if we have 16 and 16 and 4 and 4, what we're going to do is we're going to add them up. So if we have 16 plus 4 is 20, and 16 plus 4 is 20, and 20 plus 20 is 40, we know that then our new rectangle would be a perimeter of 40 inches, okay? That second one was a little bit tricky. And so the way I did it was just trial and error and tried to figure out. We knew it couldn't be 5 because it didn't end in a 5 or a 0. We tried 6. We tried 7, we tried 9, we already had 8, we tried 10, we tried 11, and so that's why when the only thing that I hadn't really tried was 4, that one was a little bit tricky, but technically you could have figured out either with repeated subtraction or done like 4 times 12, 48, and then kept adding 4s until you got to 64. Okay. Now we have set D. So set D says, remember to think about the quantities in the problem. Remember to think about how the quantities in the problem are related. You can use a picture to show relationships. So Julian has 5 triangle blocks with sides that are the same length. What is the perimeter of the blocks if Julian places them together side to side? So this one you had to picture, it ends up looking like a trapezoid. Okay, so if you have a triangle here and then you put it upside down, right, to fit in like a puzzle, then you would have a triangle here, then you would have another one standing up, then you would have another one tipping down, and then you would have another one standing up. Okay? So, for number 1, all they want you to do is to describe the quantities given. So in other words, what's the important information? So we would go back up to the problem, and maybe we would circle or underline the things that are important, because that would help us then to do number 1. So Julian has 5 triangle blocks. 5 triangle blocks is important. It's important we know how many, and it's important that we know that they're triangle shaped, with sides that are the same length, meaning that 2, 2, 2, okay? An equilateral triangle is what that's called. What is the perimeter of the blocks? So we need to know perimeter. And then we need to know that they're going to be side to side and together, meaning like fit like a puzzle, or like when you guys do the puzzle, the pictures with the pattern blocks, and we fit them all together. That's kind of what this is like. So now number 2 says solve the problem and explain your reasoning. So if we made, like I described, like a trapezoid, okay, we would, when we add them all up, okay, we would get 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, and 2 times 7 is 14. So our perimeter with the shape I described is 14 inches, because each side is 2 long, right? And when we count them, we found out that it was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then that gives us 7 times 2, which is 14 inches. Now, if you, because you don't count the inside in inches, if you somehow made a different shape, and you want me to look at the way that your drawing is, that's totally fine. But as far as I know, I've always done the one that's the trapezoid. So if you think you found a different one, let me know and I can check it, or let an adult know and they can check it. But I tend to make the one that's the trapezoid, and then when you count them around, you get 14 inches. So if you guys have any questions about the reteaching, please let me know. I'm happy to help you, okay? The chapter test is going to be posted this afternoon. Review your stuff first, okay? And then it's going to be up until next Tuesday. So you have all weekend, you have tomorrow on Flex Friday to do it if you need to. Don't feel like you have to do it today, but make sure you review, make sure you ask someone if you have any questions, and I'm happy to help. I'm so happy I got to see some of you yesterday, and I look forward to seeing you guys on our next Google Meet. So let me know if you have any questions, but I hope you do really well on your test, and I can't wait to talk to you guys again. All right, have a good day. Bye.